Know, O prince, that between the years when the oceans drank Atlantis and the gleaming cities, and the years of the rise of the sons of Arius, there was an age undreamed of, when shining kingdoms lay spread across the world like blue mantles beneath the stars. Nemedia, Ophir, Brinthia, Hyperborea, Zamora with its dark-haired women and towers of spider-haunted mystery, Zingara with its chivalry, Koth that bordered the pastoral lands of Shem, Stygia with its shadow-guarded tombs, Hyrcania, whose riders wore steel and silk and gold. But the proudest kingdom of the world was Aquilonia, reigning supreme in the dreaming West. Good evening and welcome everyone to the Adventures in Lollygagging. I am Aaron. I am your game master, and we are returning for season 2 of the Hyborian Tales. So we're going to do session 0 tonight. We're going to do a little character creation. We're going to talk a little bit about the rules, and we're going to talk a little bit about the world. But before we get into that, we're going to have our players introduce themselves in alphabetical order, and they're going to tell you their first experience with Conan. And I'm going to start them off, give them a chance to think about it. So let's take the Wayback Machine to 1973. I'm 6 years old, and my mother and grandmother go out to go garage sell, just hunting. They come back home with a box of used comic books. And in that box is Marvel Comics Conan issue 1 from 1970, illustrated by Barry Windsor Smith and written by Roy Thomas. And yes, I kick myself every day for the fact that I no longer have that comic book, but I read it. And as soon as I read it, I searched for every Conan comic book that I could find that had been published in the 3 years since then. Then I started in on the Sword of Conan magazine, started reading RobertEHoward's actual books, and I have devoured virtually everything. This was the starting point in my love affair with swords and sorcery that expanded to Elric of Melnibone and the Eternal Champions, Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, and beyond. So Conan started it all for me. Next up.
So our last campaign was 2 years ago. And about 2 hours before our campaign, I watched the Conan the Barbarian movie. And that was my first experience with Conan.
It's a great movie. Arnold knocked it out of the park.
There were definitely parts of it that really caught me off guard, but it was fun.
Jeff,
am I next?
You're
oh
up.
My God!
Yeah,
we jump right to J.
Right to J.
AJKLM.
That's right. Okay. So yeah, like Aaron, I've been reading Conan since I was a kid. I can't remember how old I was, but I think it was single digits. But I remember I got a copy from one of my cousins. I had an older cousin, and they had like books in like this like old like Silverline trailer, like in Fort Myers, Florida. And there were all these different books. And one of them, when I was staying there, I think it was like, I don't know, 4th grade or something, maybe, or so. And it was Conan the Conqueror. And I was like looking up to make sure I had the right cover. And it's the Frank Frazetta cover,
nice.
where you see him kind of coming down. And that was my very first read that I can remember. And so I was reading that, and like, it's a young kid, fairly impressionable. And then after that, I got like Hero Quest, which was very like the barbarian characters, very Conan aesthetic. And so after that, I just started reading all the Robert E. Howard like books. I got into some of the comics a little bit too, but I think I did a lot of the short stories and the books and such at first. I don't remember when I saw the Conan movies, but it was definitely too young. I was definitely younger than I should have. But yeah, I've watched both of those in the Red Sonja one as well, which is sort of like the unofficial third. But yeah, I'm a huge Conan fan, as you know. So yeah.
There was also the Jason Momoa movie, but that made me sad on the inside.
Yeah.
So I try not to talk about it. I want to love it every time I try to watch it again, and I just don't.
The other thing I'll mention, because I know no one else here will, is that there was an MMO called Age of Conan, maybe 15, 17 years ago, something like that, from Funcom. Same people did like Anarchy Online, and I was huge into that. We had like a big guild and everything at the time. I played a Herald of Zotli, which was awesome, which was like this like melee caster who could turn into a demon and swing a two-handed sword. So yeah, I just remember, and like we would do like PvP and stuff in it as well. So yeah, I love Conan.
Okay, so I wasn't in the campaign 2 years ago, and I grew up with, shockingly, X-Men comics. And also Sonic the Hedgehog. I actually remember buying the first episode of that one. Yep.
You don't say.
Strong IP.
So I know like the big speech that happens in the Arnold movie, and I know some of the memes from that, and I know a little bit of like the comics and literature in Clip It. But really, I don't know any of the lore. This will all be new to me.
You know, in Savage Avengers, Wolverine and Conan do hang out. Just saying.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe I should dig that one up and read it.
Now she's interested. Now she's interested.
I know I'd find a hook in there somewhere.
What X-Men in there? He does stuff with Hercules as well, to be fair. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, Long.
Hey, Long here. And this is the world first, Lollygaggers first. I know more of something than another player of the game. That's probably the first time that's ever happened.
Yep.
But even with
Very
that,
rare.
I was in the campaign season 1 2 years ago with Ashley, so I'm in the same boat there. And I understood some of the words in Aaron's intro. Like, I knew those words. So I get the game a bit. And I can see how there's a huge fandom in it. It's pretty amazing setting, amazing world. So I can understand that.
Fantastic. So, as everybody alluded to, we did have a season 1. It was 2 years ago, and we were playing Conan and Age Undreamed Of, which was an early.
Melissa,
We cannot let Melissa off the hook.
I
I was hoping we wouldn't notice.
Go.
Ashley and I both got it like
go.
right away. We're like, You gotta get in.
I saw her
saw-
sitting there like, I got off scot-free. And I went like, oh.
She did not pay me to skip over her. I promised everybody that was me. That was a senile moment from Aaron. So, Melissa, I apologize
No
wholeheartedly.
worries. Not a problem. I don't necessarily have a whole lot interesting to add. I am old enough that it's sort of been in just sort of like knowing it, just general cultural knowledge of things along the way. But definitely us playing that campaign a couple years ago was definitely kind of a big introduction to it. And we were just kind of talking pre-stream. Jeff had got me the Gail Simone Red Sonja book for Christmas last year. So read that. So definitely have a little more knowledge than just the general, kind of know about it, seeing clips from it. Kind of, we've got a full spectrum of knowledge of the world for sure.
I like it. And that's great because this is not Robert.EHoward's Hyborian Tales. This is our Hyborian Tales. It's going to look the same, but there'll be different things. If you watched season 1, you know that I dovetailed deeper into H.P. Lovecraft's worlds than Conan did. Not to say that they weren't friends, and not to say that Robert.EHoward didn't have some sort of Cthulhian interests, but. This will be our world and our tale. But as I was saying about season 1, we did play Conan, An Age Undreamed Of, which was a early version of Modifius's 2D20 system. It's a crunchier system. I thoroughly enjoyed running it. I think everybody enjoyed playing it. But for season 2, we're shifting gears. The IP for Conan went over to Monolith. And in that time, they have come up with their own game, Conan, the Hyborian Age. It was successfully kickstarted, fully funded in November of 2024. We've got the final PDFs of the book if you backed it, and the physical rewards are coming out now. And as up to as far as their last indication, they would start hitting people's doors as early as this month. Though I think that's probably Europe before the U.S. They did say that once fulfillment of the game was complete, they would be offering it for sale on their own Monolith website. So if you like what you see while we're playing here, you'll be able to get the game. In addition, they've indicated that they're working on some VTT support. I believe it's going to be Foundry. So if you're a Foundry fan, you should see that coming down the line. So we're going to start with some character creation. We're going to walk through it step by step. So for my players, if you've got the PDF of the core book open, we're going to be starting with step 1, choose an origin, and that starts on page 23. So the origins are basically where you come from or something about your background. There is from the hills, from the streets, from the steppes, from the north, from the wilds, from a civilized land, from parts unknown, from the blood of Jebel Sag, and from the blood of Akron, and from the blood of a demon. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these as my players start looking at them. I'll explain mechanically what each one of them is, give you an idea of where this origin might be from. I'm not going to make my players tie their character to a specific physical location tonight, but in 2 weeks when we get back, we'll see where everybody is actually physically coming from. So if you start with From the Hills, you get a bonus. At the beginning of each tale, you get to choose either might, edge, or grit, which are 3 of the 4 attributes in the game. And for the duration of that story, you can apply +1 to all checks and attacks related to that chosen stat. Now, +1 doesn't necessarily sound like a lot, but when I get into the rules of the game, you'll see that a +1 is a significant modifier in this game. In addition to where you come from, you get base life points, which are like hit points. So this is the base. It gets modified later by your grit stat. The base life points for someone from the hills is 30, and they can have no sorcery. An example of a location for someone from the hills is, of course, Conan himself from Samaria. They were hill people. And then if you look over the hills, they give a kind of a 3-paragraph description of it, but I'm not going to read through all of that. Your next option is From the Streets. For someone from the streets, that gives you a +1 to all edge checks and attacks, and you begin with either the fleet-footed or of the shadows skill. Now, skill in this game is much like heroic ability or talents from other games. There are modifiers that affect your ability to either take actions or attack or change your characteristics in some way. A character who is from the streets has a base life points of 22, so less than From the Hills, and also have no sorcery. So this could be from anywhere from like the mall in the city of Zamora to the Pirate Isles, the Baccara Isles. I mean, you could be a pirate. That would make sense from the streets. But basically any major city that has a slum with crime, a crime-ridden area, that would be a potential for From the Streets.
Just to interrupt real quick,
yes.
I was possibly thinking about doing a From the Streets, unless anyone else was kind of leaning in that direction.
Pirate Melissa?
I don't know about pirate so much, but I don't know that I've really done like street urchin type character before. So I was thinking, maybe.
Yeah, and like, hey, if you liked Conan the Destroyer, his young companion is definitely a character from the streets. I mean, that's a way to think about it if you've only seen the movies. Now, From the Steppes, you've got a bonus, +1 to all ranged damage, and begin with the Born in the Saddle skill. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. There's some adventures that are going to have you on horseback, but probably not a lot of adventures that are going to have you on horseback. So I might, if you are interested in doing ranged and you're interested in being from the steppes, I might allow you to swap that talent, that skill out with a different skill. I might give you some options so that you're not tied to having a skill that you're not going to get to be able to use a lot throughout the play. So don't discount that just because you don't think you're ever going to be on a horse. Base life points are 26. Once again, they have no sorcery. So Hyrcanians are obviously a prime example of from the steppes. Also, northern Kitai, the plains of Gulistan, all of these areas would have these types of Mongolesque riders.
This is the origin I'm looking at as a high
Excellent.
proud character here.
Next, we have from the north. You get a +1 to all melee damage, and you would begin with either the Iron Hide or the Charge skill. And kind of just keep these in the back of your mind. When we get down to talking about skills, we'll go over what all of these actually are. Or as soon as you tell me what origin you want, we'll flip down to those skills so you can get an idea. They start with 32 base life points, so the highest of anyone so far, and they have no sorcery. Examples of where you might be from is Asgard, Vanaheim, Northern Hyperborea, Nordland, Nordheim. All of these locations in the north would be likely starting points.
This one's tied for my top choice, so I'm still kind of waffling.
Nice. Next, we have From the Wild. So this is a bonus, +1 to all grit checks, and you can spend 1 stamina point to regain 2 life points. And I'll get into stamina, which is kind of a currency that players have available to them, and how it's used in a little bit. Your base life points are 30, so pretty high, and still no sorcery. So, I mean, this could be the wilds of Stygia. This could also be the Pict, the areas where the Picts are, or even potentially from the southern Bosonian marches, or from some of the countries like Dafir and places like that were further from the south. Next is from a civilized land. So you get +2 to wit checks with this, and you begin with the uncanny warding skill. You have 22 life points, so a little lower, but this is the first origin that allows you to potentially buy into sorcery. So you may buy sorcery skills from the alchemy discipline, and we'll go through the different sorcery disciplines as they come up. And this could be this could be Tarantia, Messentia, any of the major cities within the West.
This is my backup. I wasn't leaning quite as strongly toward it, but this was kind of going to be the backup if I was going to go a little more straight sword shield type. I was going to go this direction.
Nice. And then from Parts Unknown, you get a +1 bonus to checks made as part of any contest. So that's like when you're directly contesting two ability checks with somebody. Like if you're trying to be stealthy and you're checking against their awareness, that's considered a contest. So you would automatically get +1 to your check on that. In addition, you can spend 1 stamina point to get +2 for your sorcery defense for the duration of that combat. And once again, +1, +2, these are major modifiers in this game. You start with 26 life points, and you can buy sorcery skills from 2 different sorcery disciplines of your choice.
This is one of the ones that I have tied for first.
Nice. And this could be from anywhere. Like, I mean, you're from someplace unknown. It's not Hyboria, it's not RobertEHoward, but when I thought of this, the first thing I thought of was Elric from Melnibone. I mean, Melnibone exists, but most of the people in the Young Kingdom have never dealt or never seen anyone from Melnibone or Melnibone. So next is from the blood of Jebel Sag. Think kind of druid feel to it. Hermit, Radagast kind of feel. Whenever you regain life points, you regain 2 additional life points and begin with the healing sorcery skill. So you automatically have a sorcery skill. You get base life points of 28, and you may buy sorcery skills from alchemy and white magic.
This was one of my 2. I have because I haven't played a caster in a while, so I was like, if I do like the healing, this would be it. But I also have a backup for like if I do like black magic, like bad sorcery stuff. So this is one of my two.
I love it. So obviously you'd be from somewhere in the wilds if you're from the blood of Jevelsag for the most part.
Jeff and I had the same thought of like, do we need a healer? This is what I would be.
And we'll talk about healing and how it works in this game, and how death works in this game here in a minute. But from the blood of Acheron, so before the current age, Acheron was a great kingdom that stretched basically most of the known world. It ended in the north at Samaria because they were not able to defeat the Sumerians, and it ended at the south in contested areas of Stygia. But they were powerful sorcerers. So with being from the blood of Acheron, you have a +1 to all wits checks, and you may spend 1 stamina point to reduce the cost in life points to cast a spell by half. So one of the interesting things about sorcery in this game is you either have to spend a stamina point to cast a spell or your life points. You're literally giving up part of your life to cast spells. So it can be kind of limiting on how many spells you can cast because you can draw yourself down relatively quickly. So there are several skills in the game that reduce the cost for you.
And this is my other one. So I have like completely separate. One is like the shaggy druid guy from the middle of nowhere, and then the other one might be like in my head, like some sort of like jewel merchant from Ophir or something like that. Like that's almost like Stellan Skarsgård's character from Andor, except really bad. You know, one of those two. Those are my two options.
I love it. So this you would start with base life points of 20, and you may buy sorcery skills from all sorcery disciplines. So any of them, you could have them all given enough time. And then finally, we've got from the blood of a demon. So at some point in your ancestor's life, perhaps a parent, perhaps a little further back, they were either put in a situation where they had congress with a demon, or they actively sought that out for themselves, and you quite literally have the blood of demons running through your veins. So you get +1 to all sorcery attacks and +2 to sorcery damage. Base life points are 26, so not bad. And you may buy sorcery skills from black magic and the demonic magic disciplines. Now, all the sorcery skills, you're not required to buy sorcery skills. It's just an option for you. But if you do not have the option, you will never have the option. So if you're from the hills, from the streets, from the steeps, from the north, from the wilds, you can never buy sorcery skills. Does anybody know where they want to be from?
Long, I think no one was like also thinking of yours, right? Because weren't you from the steppes? Was it?
Yeah, because this is like archery from the steppes, the east here. So from here, Kania, probably that region.
Nice.
Cool.
So
from
we
were
in
steppes, Katai last time, right? Last season.
Yeah. You guys got ran out of Katai by a celestial dragon. Yeah, because of Steven.
I was about to say, I think I did actually see that one, and it was like, didn't he get eaten or something as well?
Yeah, because
that's why he's not in this season.
He died, and he chose
die in the show.
No,
you're done.
Oh my! Die in the show, die in real life.
In this campaign, you die in the show, you're dead.
Conan's hardcore. Come on.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
No jokes.
So that's what this strap that I had to tie to my wrist was for. The poison in it.
So anybody else? So we've got a Hyrcanian archer.
So Kip, sorry, I think you were the other one that was thinking from the streets. What were your thoughts on?
I'm happy to give that to you. I would love to see your version of from the streets, because to be fair, I do it a lot. Like I think probably in Swords of the Serpentine, I was more rogue than anything else, but I didn't use my magic very much at all. So I would love to see you play that archetype.
I'm good with that if you're good with that. It's funny because my Call of Cthulhu character is technically a rogue clarify like definition of what she is, but like obviously that is
just
not
disagreeing
like...
with you right there.
You're definitely just more of the face at this point.
You're like rogue in the sense of roguish charm, not rogue
yes,
in
exactly.
the sense of
exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I think you should. I'm happy to watch you do that. The other thing is, I was thinking like I could do unknown because I don't know anything, so I don't have to commit to a location.
Right.
And that's appealing to me. Or I could be like, if Jeff wants to be Sag or super evil wizard. Well, if he's Sag, I could join him with the magic of from that area as well. But yeah. So I can take unknown and just, I don't have to remember a name of a place.
It's super meta because it's unknown to you.
It's unknown. I did think on this joke for the last 2 weeks. Yes.
Okay, so 2
well
weeks
spent
to do that joke.
Rude.
I thought Canadians were supposed to be funny.
Rude. Like I can't hear you.
So Melissa, if you're being from the streets, you've got a choice of being fleet-footed, having the skill fleet-footed for free, and I'm going to tell you what that is. When making 2 move actions in the same turn, you can take an additional bonus move action. So the way actions work in this game is every player has 2 actions. You can do virtually anything you want with those 2 actions, and we'll go into more depth in that a little bit later. But usually, to get a 3rd action, you have to spend a point of stamina. And that 3rd action can only be a move action. So fleet-footed gives you that for free if you use both of your actions to move. So it's for running away or running to trouble. Your second option is of the shadows. This gives you a +1 to all edge checks involving stealth, which includes hiding, moving quietly, passing by unseen, or to detect others. So it gives you a +1 to stealth or a +1 to your perception. You can choose either one of those 2, and you do not have to make that choice right now, but I wanted to let you know what they were.
Yeah, I am going to go fleet-footed. I've got I had 2 builds kind of ready to go, and so in this one, I'm definitely leaning in that direction. So fleet-footed was going to be my skill choice for that.
I like it. Now, long, like I said, if you're from the steppes, so you can keep born in the saddle if you want. You ignore the usual penalty for making ranged attacks while mounted. Instead, you apply a +1 to attacks when mounted and targeting an unmounted foe. You can keep that, or you can take charge, which is spend 1 stamina point to make 2 move actions followed by a melee attack. But if you're going range, that might not really be the one. Or you can take fleet-footed, which Melissa just took, which is when making 2 move actions in the same turn, take an additional bonus move action, which would allow you to get some distance if you wanted to return to ranged combat.
Let's see.
And once again, you don't have to choose now. And between now and when our first session, if you guys want to change your choice, you can.
I'm going to commit to Born in the Saddle. I'm going to run with it, see what happens.
Well, I'll do my best to find you a way to be in the saddle.
It's all right. I'll force myself in the saddle so you can have no choice.
I love it. All right. Does somebody else have an idea of who they want to be?
I think Jeff needs to commit to what magic user he wants to be.
Well, what does Ashley want to be? Ashley, what were you thinking?
We're all trying to push it off to someone else. Is what we're saying.
Sounding like
as we tend to do.
Going to be a bit of a beefcake because you guys seem
like
easy pushovers.
Squishy.
I just played a beefcake, so
I want to see this.
So there was From the Hills, which gives you that ability to change your bonus every adventure. From the North is the most beefcake, and that's +1 to melee damage and begin with either Ironhide or Charge.
Yeah, I'm kind of drawn to the dual axes that she's holding in the art in the book. So I'm thinking sweet. From the North, I
love it. Okay, so Ironhide or Charge. Let's get down there and talk about those options. So Ironhide, pretty straightforward. Increase your maximum life points by 3. So that's definitely a nice option. Charge is what I told Long a moment ago. Spend 1 stamina point, make 2 move actions followed by a melee attack action. this only counts as one action.
Yeah.
So you're basically getting 3 actions for 1 action if you take charge, but it costs 1 stamina.
Yeah.
And real quick, I'm going to just give you a real quick tutorial on stamina, so you have an idea of how you would have to manage this. So your initial stamina is equal to your grit.
Okay.
And when you spend stamina, there's only a couple of ways to get it back during an adventure. You have the opportunity to take basically 2 recovery actions, and during those recovery actions, you would get 1 point of stamina back. And also, there's a dice mechanic that they use in this game called the flex dice, and I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But when you get the maximum value on that dice, you get different options that you can choose from. And one of those options is get a stamina point.
Okay.
There's no upper limit to stamina points during an adventure. So you can go well above your grit, but at the end of the adventure, it resets to your grit total.
Okay.
And grit at the start of play will be no fewer than 1 and no greater than 6.
Gotcha.
So Ironhide or Charge? What are you thinking?
I'm not going to commit yet, but I am
Okay.
leaning more towards Ironhide at this point. I think
I like it.
3 life points is really.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Elvis is being weird.
Yeah, because that would put your base life points at 35, and then you double your grit stat and add that to it. So
Ooh.
you'd be tanky, potentially pretty tanky.
Good to
All
be.
right.
Good to be. Beefcake tank.
Jeff Kipser?
Kipster, did
Jeff?
you have an idea for sorcerer? Were you going more like dark sorcery stuff? Like, did you look at?
I have looked at it, and I was, because you have both ends of the spectrum.
I can go
as
either
your
way
ta-
with it.
I can go
Yeah.
either way as it. So I think I
Okay.
called you out first, so you have to choose first.
Let's see. I'll do. I think I'm gonna do Jebel Sag. I'll do healing. I like druid stuff, so I think that's that. I think I'll go that route. So I'll commit. There we go.
Okay. Then I'll take unknown, and then for the 2 sort of sorcery skill disciplines that I can choose from, I am going to dip a little bit into yours and grab alchemy, but I'm going to leave white magic completely alone, and then I'm going to use that, hide the fact that I can also do one of the evil magics as well. I'm thinking
Just
I
hear
might
what you
grab
did.
necromantic.
Like, oh, Jeff, you choose.
Yeah.
I choose.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
But
gonna
I'm
dip
gonna
into
steal
yours,
yours.
and I'm gonna take a little bit of you.
But I'm also taking necromantic.
So
Yeah.
one thing,
Come on.
You can change.
she's the devil.
All right. I was always.
Now-
Never mind. I am not going to do Jebel Sag anymore. I'm going to do Blood of Acheron now.
All right.
If you're going to be like that, and I'm going to go full black magic.
All right.
The
I'll
one
still
thing I
do
like in
50.
games is having my area. So if you're
All
going to go
right.
alchemy,
If
then
you
I'm gonna-
no,
I'll go
you
Blood
can
of
take it.
Acheron.
I'll take necromantic, and I'll take like black magic or something. Go for it. I'll leave the alchemy. I'll leave the alchemy.
Hmm.
So one thing to note when it comes to sorcery, you don't actually get access to your sorcery discipline until you spend experience points to buy one of the sorcery skills, which are essentially spells. So keep that in the back of your mind, because when you look at sorcery, and we'll get into that here in a minute since we've got a couple of sorceress types. Once you've bought one sorcery skill, there are innate abilities that you get that go along with it that don't require any stamina or life point costs. So we will touch base on those here momentarily. But let's get back to the next step now that we've got everyone assigned. We're going to talk about stat points. So you get 16 points to spend among 4 stats. All of them have a minimum of 1, and the maximum is 6 during character creation. So I'm going to go through the 4 stats. The first one is might. This is a measure of physical strength. So all of your bend bars, lift gates, climb cliffs kinds of things. Where it also is important is to understand that you use your might skill when you're making your melee attacks. In addition, your might stat is added to damage for both your melee attacks and your thrown weapon attacks. So the way this game works with your stats is you have a stat value, which is what we're figuring out now, and you have a stat dice. All of your stat dice start as a D6. And the way you make a check is you roll your stat dice, you add your stat value and any modifiers, and you compare that against a difficulty number or a defense rating to determine whether or not you succeed. So that's might, kind of what you would think of when you think of your general strength skill or stat. Next is edge, and this is a measure of your character's physical sharpness, deftness, intuition, alertness, dexterity, hand-eye coordination. So this is stealth, but it's also perception. This is your ability to make ranged attacks, and it is used as the modifier for your initiative check. It also impacts your physical defense, so your ability to avoid damage. The third one is grit. Now, grit is a measure of your pain tolerance, stamina, constitution, your resistance to poison, and other environmental factors. Where it comes into play mechanically is you double your grit score and add that to your base life points to give yourself your total life points. It also determines your total stamina points. And this is quite important, it's buried further in the rules, but you roll a grit check when you get to 0 life points to avoid death. You roll a grit check against a difficulty of 8. So having a grit score of 1 is dicey, but I respect anybody who wants to give that a go. And the fourth is, the fourth is wits. So wits is a measure of your character's eloquence of speech, your rhetoric, your ability to decipher language, symbolic knowledge, your ability to learn, your ability to read people and detect as well as tell lies. So this is your deception mechanic is in wits. And obviously, it's also related to your sorcery skill. This is how you use your sorcery attacks. And it determines your sorcery defense. So there are 2 defenses in the game. There's a physical defense that is based on your edge score, and there's a sorcery defense that's built on your wit score. So you get 16 points to separate those out. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to go over the other derived stats in the game. So as I already said, physical defense is a measure of a character's ability to defend themselves. It is equal to your edge stat plus 2 plus any other bonuses that are granted by skills, minimum of 5. So it's your edge plus 2 plus any other bonuses, minimum of 5. Your sorcery defense is kind of the same. It is your wits stat plus 2 plus any bonuses granted by skills, with a minimum of 5. So regardless, if you only have a 1 in wits, you're still going to have a 5 sorcery defense. Life points are a measure of your physical well-being, kind of like, as I said, hit points earlier. And what you do is you take your base life points, add twice your grit score to that, plus any other skill that might modify that to get your total life points. Stamina points, as I already said, are equal to your grit score. So as your grit score goes up, your stamina points would go up. There's no upper limit to stamina points that can be awarded to you during play, but they always reset back to your grit score at the start of the next adventure. And then finally, I mentioned a little earlier, is the flex die. So your stamina pool is like, I always think of it as like it's your internal. It's like you're reaching into your guts. It's you pushing yourself physically beyond what you should be able to accomplish something. Now, a flex dice, this is a completely separate dice. You'll need a different color dice, and it's initially a D10 when you roll it. And you roll a flex die every time you roll an ability check, every time you roll an attack, every time you roll damage. The only time you really don't roll it is during initiative. And whenever that flex die comes out its maximum value, you get a special benefit to that. And I'm going to tell you what both the stamina, the base stamina spends and the base flex dice spends are right now. So your base flex dice spends, so if you max out, you get a 10 at the beginning on your D10 for flex. You can, as I said, immediately gain 1 stamina point, or you can immediately succeed on a check that would have otherwise failed. Or if you're casting a spell, that spell will not cost you any stamina or life points to cast. Basically, you get them all back. And if you get it as part of a damage roll, you can automatically invoke the massive damage rule, which means you roll your damage, you add, any relevant modifiers, and then the maximum value of that weapon damage dice, whatever it is, D6, D8, D10, D12, is added on top of that. And for stamina points, so remember, you start with stamina points equal to your grit. Anytime, you can either spend stamina points on your turn or sometimes as a reaction. You can spend a stamina point to get an additional move action, like I already said. You can spend 1 or 2 stamina points on any roll to increase the total of that roll by 1 or 2 respectively, which can also obviously turn a failure into a success. Obviously, why else would you do it, really? You can spend 1 or 2 stamina points to increase the damage of an attack. 1 will increase it by 1d4, 2 will increase it by 2d4. You can increase the range of any thrown weapon by 1 additional range zone for 1 stamina point. You can ignore the effects of encumbrance for 1 round for 1 stamina point. And we'll talk a little bit about encumbrance when we get into equipment. And this is a special case, if you're down to your final stamina point, you can spend that to apply the maximum damage rules that we just described. And on top of that, if your flex die comes up a 10 on that, you get to add the maximum damage effect a second time. So potentially ridiculous damage under those circumstances. All right, now that I've done some tap dancing for a while, does everybody have their stats where they want them?
Yeah, I think I've got them relatively set. I had some ideas ahead of time, but I think I adjusted a little bit. So we'll see if this is where I still am in 2 weeks. But I went might 3, edge 6, grit 3, wits 4.
Nice.
So it seemed like edge makes the most sense for edge, kind of.
Yeah, from the streets, the edge is definitely. And there is a skill that you can purchase actually in the next step that allows you to use your edge stat instead of your melee stat to attack with melee weapons. So,
well, then I might put my because I originally had might 2, edge 6, grit 3, wits 5 was originally where I was at, and then when you were talking about might, I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have might 2 if I'm going to be kind of running up and stabbing people with knives. But I may have missed a skill because I had a couple of other things for skills. But we'll look into that one because that may make more sense.
Well, those first 2 skills you get 1 of those for free. And the next step will be spending some experience points to get some starting skills. And one of the starting skills is that one. But remember, you only add your edge to attack if you get that skill. Not you would still add your melee to bonus damage. So there's still a reason to have a little bit of might.
To not go all the way down to 2 with might.
Well, I mean, 2's not bad still, but I mean, I just wanted to let you know how that all works out. So
cool.
Who else has an idea of what their stats are going to look like?
Check if these are reasonable. I might switch my might down to 1, but right now I've got might 2, edge 5, grit 3, wit 6.
Yep.
I'm thinking I might pull the might down to 1 and throw it onto crit, but I'm not sure if I should keep them kind of more balanced.
I mean, there are going to be times when you're going to be doing ability checks with might. So keep that in the back of your mind, like climbing up the sides of cliffs or climbing up a rope so there are, you'd be using grit for like running and things like that. But think about any time you'd have to use strength outside of combat. I mean, you may not need to a lot, but it could come up. So
I'm hearing don't
bad.
Make it 1.
No, I think 1 is completely reasonable, but I just want to keep it,
Okay, I'm going to keep them where they are then. Okay, thank you.
Mine's totally not obvious. I'm going to do 6 in might. I'm going to do 3 in edge, 4 in grit, and 3 in wits. And I'm debating if I'm going to lower my wits a bit and maybe throw that on grit or edge, but we'll see.
And I'll remind, and I'm just throwing these reminders out, one for all of us, and then for anybody who's watching. Wits does play into sorcery defense, so keep that in the back of your mind. That's why I put it at 3, because I was like, that would be so shit if I get in there and then I get a spell cast on me, and then I'm like, sorry guys, you're fucked. I gotta run away now.
Classic barbarian.
Yeah.
In my case, magic isn't real to me, so my wits is 1, my grit is 3, my edge and might are 6.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it.
We're
so
excited in your group are concerned.
Coin. Yeah,
I'm so excited to see this in action. Oh, that's fantastic.
2 sides, the same coin.
All right, Jeff. What do you think?
Magic isn't real.
I have might and edge at 2, grit and wits at 6.
Nice.
So I'm gonna play a old wiry man, really smart and is tough as leather, but like very weak and not very quick. So that's kind of where I'm going.
Whenever I think of the Jebel Sag, I always think of the sorcerer from the first Conan movie. I cannot remember the character's name, but that's what I always think, because he does all the healing and everything. And,
he does, yeah. Yep. So that's what I'm thinking. 2-2-6-6. I think that's pretty good. There's a lot of like with casting, a lot of it's life points, but a lot of it's also stamina. So it's good to have like both grit and wits.
Oh, absolutely. And that brings us to starting skills. So everyone starts with 3 experience points, and you have to spend all 3 of them during character creation. You cannot save any for later. And you can only buy your starting abilities from the skills on the first table on page 46, or your sorcery skills, depending on which sorcery disciplines you have. So I'm just going to read through the skills real quick while everybody is taking a look at them themselves. There's Born in the Saddle, which we've already talked about. Charge. Defender, you can choose a friendly character within touch range, and you can become the target of a single attack made against them instead. It's very similar to some other games. Fleet-footed, which we've already talked about. Hit and run, you can spend 1 stamina point to make an attack action followed by 2 move actions, and this only counts as 1 action. So that's dart in, stab, and run away. So
I'm thinking about taking that one. Like that's one of the ones that I was definitely leaning towards, because I wonder if it stacks with fleet-footed.
Yeah. I mean, fleet-footed would be 1 action. No, fleet-footed is you make 2 move actions in the same turn, and then you get a bonus move action. So that's all of your actions right there.
Okay. Yeah, because hit and run, you can spend a stamina point to make an attack action followed by 2 move actions, which only counts as 1. And then fleet-footed, when you make 2 move actions, you take an additional bonus move action. So lots of movement.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I would let them stack, because you are taking the 2 move actions. And that is part of your first action is to move. So, yeah, you'd be stab, run back to far distance.
Exactly.
Then there's Ironhide, which we talked about, and Of the Shadows, which we talked about. Then there's Uncanny Warding, which can be picked by anybody. It increases your sorcery defense by 1. All of those cost 1 experience point. 2 experience points are Assassin, and this is where, when using one-handed, light, or medium melee weapon, you can use edge to your attack instead of might. Brawler, you can increase your damage of all melee attacks by 1. Eagle Eye, you can increase the damage of all ranged attacks by 1. Pantherish, you can spend 1 stamina point to re-roll a failed check or attack roll, which is kind of nice, but it does cost stamina. Resilience, during a recovery, regain 3 additional life points and gain an additional stamina point. So if you think you're going to be using a lot of stamina, Resilient can be helpful. Waterfront Fists, while unarmed, melee attacks count as improvised weapons. So what this means is your unarmed attacks normally are just 2 damage plus your might stat. Melee damage is improvised weapons is a D4 plus your might stat. And there are other things that modify improvised damage later, so that's why it might be worth it. And then the only 3 XP spend on this list is improve your flex die down from a D10 to a D8. And remember, on your flex die, it only means anything if you get the maximum amount. So going down from 1 in 10 to 1 in 8 does make a difference. Now, Jeff, what sorcery skills were you looking at? Or what sorcery disciplines were white magic?
Right. So I'm allowed white magic and alchemy. I get healing right off the bat. That's what's granted to me, so I don't have to spend XP on it. I know for sure I'm going to take Talons of Jill, which is basically a sorcery attack that I can do at long range. So that's one of my XP. That's in white magic. Mm-hmm. The other two, I'm debating between either Eyes of the Raven in white magic, or there's something in alchemy. There's I think it's called Body of Living Iron.
Oh yeah. Spend one a stamina of those point two to make armor. Yeah. Now
I will say one of those two will be my other one. I'm not sure yet. One of those two.
I will say if you take an alchemy skill, you automatically get the following inherent abilities. You can create food from anything, even from dirt. It doesn't have any nutritional content, but it does provide sustenance, so you would never starve. People would never starve. You can also make a radium gem, so the sorcerer is able to turn a gemstone into a bright light source by placing their hand upon it, and as long as you touch it, so you never need torches. And artifact spirit, the sorcerer is able to determine the origin of any physical item they can put their hand on. This will provide insight as to how old the item is, where it's made, and who made it. So you get that if you buy into alchemy for free, all those abilities, and you can use them. There's no limit to the amount of time you use them.
Yeah, you just convinced me. So yeah, I think that's pretty convincing.
There's a lot of utility to all of that.
Yeah.
And the white magic, the inherent things you get automatically are the signs of Jebel-Sag. So you can read and write symbols that can only be understood by beasts and those who remember the ancient language. In addition, the sorcerer can read the emotions and intent of any nearby animal. Sense sorcery, the sorcerer can sense sorcery being used nearby and be able to tell if it's an item or a person, or if an item or a person is under the effects of a spell by placing their hand upon that person or the item, which is nice. And then finally, you get life sight automatically. The sorcerer can determine the physical and mental well-being of any living creature by placing a hand on their bare skin. This includes knowledge of any harm they've suffered, pain they are in, fear they are under the effects of, or emotional state. Also, like if they had been poisoned, you'd be able to know that they were poisoned. So all of those you can do automatically and anytime you want.
Nice. Yeah. I'm just gonna put my hand on you guys and just be like, why are you so sad? What's the matter? You're sad.
Kipser, did you make any decisions about your sorcery? While I'm in the sorcery area?
I'm a little bit, yes, but I'm kind of debating a bunch, so maybe you can help. But
sure.
With resilience, how much recovery do we normally get after a rest, was it?
So during any two adventures, you get 2 rest periods that you can take, unless the adventure itself calls out for more or less. And you can take these rest periods anytime you want. As long as you're in a relatively safe area, so like you can't take one in the middle of combat, but you automatically get 50% of your total life points back, and that's not like 50% of what you've lost. It's 50% of your total. So if you've got 30 life points, you get 15 back. Even if you're only down 5, you max out.
And what's the stamina recovery? Is it
you get one stamina point back?
Okay, so I think I was debating between like getting Snake Arrow from the Black Magic because it's 1, and then some of the Necromancer, but I might just go full Necromancer right now because the synergy between Life Leech and Stamina Leech would mean that I would able a fully like just a little battery that charges myself up. So Life Leech is I spend 1 stamina point, and then I do a touch attack at range, which is why I increased my edge because I noticed I have a lot of ranged touch stuff.
Well, you don't. You never use edge for sorcery. You always use wits for sorcery attacks.
Maybe I'll rebalance some of my points. Nah, I think it'll be fine. I was assuming.
Is that true of Blood Arrow? Because I was looking at Blood Arrow for my other build, and it is after a ranged attack.
Because I was thinking that the Snake Arrow as well.
Yeah, if it specifically calls out for a ranged attack, that's different than being able to use the spell at range.
Okay, then I'll keep my edge because I do have some arrow stuff that I'm going to get later.
Okay.
So leech life is 1 stamina point, and I can do a touch attack and get some health. And then stamina leech is I spend health to regain stamina. So I essentially am a self-charging battery.
Okay.
And that's like 1 XP and 3 XP and 2 XP. So that's all
your total 3. So,
Yep.
and for necromantic magic, for everybody watching at home and for everybody here, these are the inherent abilities that you get. Death sight. The sorcerer is able to determine precisely how a person or animal died by laying hands on the corpse. They're also able to determine approximately how long the subject has been dead. Chilling presence, the sorcerer is able to dramatically lower the temperature in the immediate area. Though they cannot cause water to freeze, the temperature drop will be noticeably uncomfortable for most living creatures. Now, this is the kind of thing where you can, like, let's say you were trying to intimidate somebody and you said, well, I'm going to use chilling presence to make it really cold around here. I would then give you a positive modifier to the intimidation check. So, and we'll get into how that works probably a little bit more in 2 weeks. And then the final inherent ability you get is Undead Ward. The sorcerer has a level of protection from undead beings. Undead foes will only ever target the sorcerer if they have no other possible targets to attack, or if the sorcerer first attacks or casts a spell against them.
I don't mind that.
So we've got our necromancer. We had a necromancer last time. They got ate by a celestial dragon. We'll see how this goes.
I don't plan on taking on a dragon.
To be fair, Kipser's far more competent than Steven, so I think we'll be okay.
He was given a chance. He was in the Dreamlands. He was given an opportunity to live forever in the Dreamlands. And he says, nope, I'm going to go back and get swallowed by the dragon.
Steven doesn't like to agree with anything.
I know. So. I was kind of banking on that because I really wanted him to be swallowed by the celestial dragon, but he fell right into my trap. Has anybody else decided how they're going to spend their 3 XP?
I would like Long to go if I can put Long on the spot.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to overlap, and I think some of what I'm doing might overlap with him, so I want him to go.
Yeah, you're not going to overlap with me. I just went improved flex with all 3.
Nice. So you've got a D8 flex.
Your chance.
You know, my second build, if I was going the city born type, that's what I was going to do with that one. What I didn't want to overlap with you on is debating between 2, and one is eagle-eyed, because with hit and run, it's just an attack action. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a melee attack action.
That's
so
correct.
I was actually thinking about staying solely ranged and just trying to like use the environment a lot. And if I do that, then I could pair it with eagle-eyed, which is a 2 XP, increase the damage of all range attacks by 1.
It's good. Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking in that direction.
Yeah,
So that, because
that would
I think you're
definitely-
also ranged with your weapon, possibly, or what you were looking at.
Yeah, I'm mostly ranged, but I'm also built to be melee. Like I could perfectly get up there with a sword.
Either one. Okay.
Just stat wise. But it's
Yeah,
mostly ranged.
Because the other thing I was thinking about was resilient, which is during recovery, regain an additional 3 life points and gain 1 additional stamina point. So I was kind of thinking about that, of just sort of helping with just kind of bringing myself back up quickly. But the equipment that I'm thinking about is, kind of multi-purpose. So like a knife that I could either use in combat or throw, and then like throwing star that's kind of throw only. So kind of having a little bit of flexibility and some options there, which is why I didn't like drop my might all the way down to like 1 or 2. I kept it as a 3. So then if I am like attacking something in melee, I've got still a little something to add to it.
I like it.
That leaves Ashley, our sole melee character.
Yeah, we're just joking. I said we're going to be Team Ashley and the Pew Pews.
I will sometimes be right next to you, and then suddenly you thought I was next to you, and then you realized that where did she go? I thought she was right here next to me, and here I am alone again.
Yeah.
You're like the first half of the Dragonbane campaign. supposed to be B. And now you're going to get to know what it's like.
It's my turn.
Now you get to know what it's like.
Swallowed whole. Let's see how many times I pull that one off in this campaign.
More
Nice.
stomach acid. More stomach acid.
Giant steaks are a staple of Conan, so
You kind of have to have one. I think
you got to have
required.
one at some point.
Yeah.
Is it me then? Is the last one to go, or
That's it.
Okay.
It's you.
So it does feel like I'm going to be up there solo. So I thought about Defender, but then you have to be within touch range of me. So that's kind of useless, at least at this point. If anyone else, are you able to join me right away, Jeff, or is that like a future thing?
Okay, so I will tell you that my heal, I have to be able to touch the bare skin of another character. One of the reasons I gave myself so much grit, and one of the reasons I was taking the iron bark thing, the body of iron, is that I figured I might have to get up there at some point to heal you. So
Okay, I'm going to guard you with my life. So I am taking
we go.
Defender.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, what is everybody's like hit points maximum right now? Life
28.
points, sorry. 28?
Yeah,
I beat
doing
you?
the math for mine is 28.
Oh wow.
I haven't done the math
32.
yet.
It's
Okay.
it's your origins life points, which is 32 plus double your grit. And
40.
if wow,
40 is
Wow.
pretty good. 40 is pretty
Yeah.
good.
Plus, I took the
Ironhide?
3.
Yep.
43.
Yeah, yours is going to be ridiculous. Oh wow. 43?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, Jeff is really going to be frontline with you.
So our
I'm gonna
old
be up
man.
Yeah. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
up there, and they're gonna look at me, and I'm gonna be super old and wrinkly.
And they're going to be like,
hit
why are you up here? And then I'm going to be like, stay away from my friend.
I'm just gonna
To be
act like
fair.
I'm lost. Like,
Where am I? How did I get here?
Oh, get behind me, Grandpa. Stay away.
And then from behind
I
you
thought this
guys,
was the
every now and again,
country
I'll just be
kitchen.
touching people.
Yeah, we just see
Oh my
Your
God.
shoulder.
perfect. Gotta work
Gets
out.
her,
Synergy.
rips off
Yeah.
her finger,
Yeah.
throws it at
Uh,
someone. Technically, she's touching.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
dramatic
it's just my
magic
hand.
puts it back on. Yeah.
I am so excited for Jeff's old man voice now.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
I'm gonna be just
What's your
wandering
life
lost
points?
into melee. I can't wait.
And then my final one, I'm taking Brawler, so I want that +1.
Nice.
I might take Waterfront Fists in the future
Mhm.
because that sounds fun.
Now I will tell everybody. So for starting, you had to choose from this table.
Okay.
Now, at the end of every adventure, you'll get usually between 1 and 3 experience points. You can still spend from that table, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about there's a couple other tables that you can spend from. The first one, obviously sorcery for the
Okay.
sorcerers,
I
but
don't care about that.
the the legendary skills
Okay, magic's
are
not
on
real.
91, page 91, and they start with things like combat readiness to give you +1 to initiative, but like there's 2 whole pages of them basically, and it allows you to regain. There's some that allow you to gain additional life points, to sacrifice your armor, bonuses on surprise attacks, bonuses when wearing heavy armor. And then they go into all of the spins that allow you to increase your stat or increase your stat die or reduce your flex die. So there are ways to increase your actual stat score and to increase your actual stat die. That's actually
Real
3
question.
pages.
Real quick, am I ridiculously lower than everybody? Was 28 as my life point total?
Not that bad. About 32, so you're not too far off.
Did you add?
I'm also
your,
at 32.
Your grit.
Double.
My grit's
double
3,
grit.
so I start at 22
Yeah.
plus
double
3
grit.
times 2
Okay.
is
Then, yeah.
28.
Yeah, that is good.
So maybe I will do resilient. Because is recovery an action or is recovery like a phase in like the things that we're doing? Because like how quickly I can regain those 3 additional life points might be
It's,
something that
it's a long rest.
Oh, it's a long rest for recovery. Okay, then yeah, that.
Aaron, what's the sort of like the XP gain? Do we get like a few XP every?
So at the end of every adventure, you'll usually get between 1 and 3. If it's a
Okay.
really long adventure, it might get broken up into sections, but
Mhm.
typically it's 1 to 3. So And you can obviously save XP between adventures to get more advanced skills, but that's what you can figure. Average 1 to 3.
And so that would probably be every adventure would be like 2 to 3 sessions.
No, every adventure is probably going to be 1 to 2 sessions.
Okay.
They're short. They're much like Robert E. Howard's shorter Conan works, where Conan gets dropped into the middle of adventure, causes havoc, gets a whole bunch of gold and a new girlfriend, then loses his girlfriend, loses all of his gold, and then gets dropped in his next adventure. So it's kind of the way the adventures are set up. There's not a lot of transition, like we're going to slowly make our way to a new location. It'll be like you're in an adventure. We'll have sort of a downtime scenario, and then we'll move where you get your XP and recover everything, and then you go right into the next adventure.
So knowing that, I would vote Eagle Eye, Melissa.
Okay. What I might do, because just with the life point, I might do a swap of grit with wits, which will get me at least up to 30. So if I do grit 4, wits 3, then it'll keep my total stats kind of where they need to be, but it'll at least get me to 30 life points. So I'm a little more in range. Like I'm still bringing up the rear, but I'm only 2 behind longest character instead of like 4 and like
I'm also 32.
Behind other people.
I'm also the similar range as you.
Yeah, to be honest with you, 40 and 43 are really
They're
high.
insane. Yeah.
When you look at the average characters that have been like their average example characters are all like 28 to 32 on average. So don't you're not in a bad position at all.
Okay. So maybe I'll as I build it.
So you've got all those advanced skills. So, obviously you can't choose from them yet, but it's something that, spend some time taking a look at them after our first adventure, because some of those might start to appeal. We are going to use the advanced rules from the back of the game, and this really relates around fighting styles. So we are going to use the fighting styles. Now, to drop into a fighting style, you either have to use 2 actions. In other words, you use 1 entire turn to take the fighting style up, drop into whatever that looks like, or you spend 1 stamina point. And the fighting styles are as follows. Deadeye Shooter. So the prerequisite is you're using a ranged weapon. The bonus you get if you're in the Deadeye Shooter stance is when the character makes a focused attack, which is you use both your actions to attack, you would inflict an additional 1d4 points of damage. However, the hindrance for that is if you take any move action, even through stamina spends, you immediately drop out of the fighting style. So it's you're standing, you're aiming, you're firing, you get to do extra damage.
So definitely something I don't want to pick, because I'm going to be constantly.
Yeah, if you're going to be mobile all the time. Now, I will say, in addition to these fighting styles, there are advanced skills that you can choose. After you have 6 total skills, you can use these, and they're for the most part they modify your fighting style. And for Deadeye, for ranged, it's a 2 XP spend for veteran Deadeye. When using Deadeye Shooter fighting style, the character may make up to 1 move action per turn without ending the fighting style. So there are ways to modify the style. The next is Defensive Fighter, any one-handed weapon and a shield. So you're a sword and board fighter. You gain +1 armor point, and you gain 1 additional armor point during any round in which you do not move. So if you're just standing still and you've got a sword and a board, your armor rating goes up. And in many other games, like in Dragonbane, you subtract your total armor rating from the amount of damage you take down to a minimum of 1 point of damage. Once again, if you take the move action more than once here in this round, you fall out of the stance. The next is dual wielder, wielding any 2 light or medium one-handed weapons. When making an attack, the character adds both weapons damage rolls to their might. So you don't have to make 2 attacks. You make 1 attack, you roll both weapons damage dice, and you add your might die once. The drawback is -1 to your armor rating. So your armor rating goes down to a minimum of 0. Flexible fighter, any one-handed weapon with your other hand empty. The character inflicts +1 damage And the manipulate action becomes a free action. We'll talk about actions here either a little later this evening or when we start playing next time. And the drawback is it's -1 to your physical defense. So not your armor, but your physical defense. Then there's great weapon fighting. So any two-handed heavy weapon, when the character makes a focused attack, once again, you take both actions to attack. You get +1d4 to the damage, much like the ranged attack. And the character may only take a move action as their first action in that round. And then finally, phalanx fighter, you're using a shield or a halberd, or two-handed weapon with a close attack range. Character gains +1 to attack and damage rolls in any round that they take the move action, and +1 to physical defense in any round that they do not take the move action. The drawback is for those bonuses to apply, someone else has to be in the phalanx fighting as well with you. And of course, the advanced skill for that allows you to just do it on your own. So the reason I brought that up is I wanted to let you know where all of the different skill options are. So there's the initial ones, which you can pull from at any time. There's the legendary skills on page 91 that you can start choosing after the first adventure. There's sorcerer skills for Jeff and Kipser. Then there's the advanced skills on page 219 that tie into the fighting styles on page 218. And we will go over this again when we go through our first XP spend. So now that we've all spent our XPs and I've talked myself almost hoarse, we're going to go into your equipment. So for equipment, you are allowed either 2 melee weapons, or a melee weapon and a shield. Or that is 2 weapons. Sorry, it can also be ranged weapons. 2 weapons or a weapon and a shield. And the weapons start on page 65.
Armor's on 63.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm thinking light armor because, again, I'm low on the life points. I was going to go no armor because I really wanted to be moving around. But if I'm already going to have only 28 life points, it feels like I should at least have a little bit of armor. So I'm thinking light armor, which has an armor rating of 3, and then a knife, which is a 1d4 medium ranged thrown weapon, and a throwing star, which is also a 1d4 medium ranged thrown weapon.
Excellent. So real quick, since we're talking about armor too, you can choose light or medium to begin with. The armor rating for light is 3, as Melissa said. The armor rating for medium is 5. The next column over is encumbrance rating. Now here, there's 2 different encumbrance systems basically for this game. The first one is armor. Your might score has to be equal to or greater than the encumbrance value for the armor. So as long as you have 1 might, you're good for light. You have to have 3 might to wear medium armor without being encumbered. For light armor, you automatically get -1 to all sorcery attacks, which does not mean anything to Melissa. And you get -1 to all checks while attempting to move stealthily.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a little rougher, but it's -1. Yeah. For medium armor, you get -2 to all sorcery attacks, -2 to all checks when attempting to move stealthily, and you may never take more than 2 actions in a turn, regardless of skills, stamina points, or any other rules. So like a lot of Melissa's skills, or interest would be invalidated by it. You would never be able to spend a point of stamina to get a third movement.
Right. Yeah.
Part of this is because in Robert E. Howard's works, Conan, he generally speaking ran around in a loincloth and a pair of boots. There was not a lot of heavy armor in most of his stories. Every once in a while, Conan would put a breastplate on or something like that, but it was not all that common. And so they kind of want to play into that and play into the fact that wearing heavy armor all the time would be a pain in the butt. So for heavy armor, like full plate or something, your armor rating is 8, which is fantastic. But you have to have a might score of 5 at a minimum. And the negatives are significant. So if anybody wants to get heavy armor down the road, we'll talk about it, but you'll be clanking along.
You basically stand in one place.
Yeah, he's like, which is not necessarily realistic for how actual heavy armor would work, but I like it for this game because it keeps people out of plate mail, and plate mail just does not feel like Conan to me. In addition to the armor, they do have shield on here. Shield really isn't a type of armor because it has an armor rating of 0. You do have to have a might score of 3 to use a shield without being encumbered. But what a shield does is it adds +1 to your physical defense. And you could use it as an improvised weapon. So we know what Melissa's thinking about. How about everybody else for armor and weapons choices?
I mean, now
Pretty
she's got her
simple.
fists, so what does she even need? Just kidding. Go ahead, Long. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just do just the light hide armor. Compare that with weapons like the longbow.
Mhm.
And for melee, I'll do a saber.
Yes.
Or, yeah, saber. So melee one-handed.
I
Heavy.
like it. 1d8 damage. And your long bow ranged up to distance. And it's 1d8 +1 damage, but it cannot be used at anybody at touch range. So obviously, if somebody's getting close, you're going to have to pull back. Whom else?
Nice.
I'm obviously not going to take armor because I don't want that -1 to sorcery. So I'm going to go just grab some weapons. I think I'm grabbing the stiletto. I think would make sense for my character. And then I'm just going to grab a short bow
Nice.
for some of those arrow spells.
And obviously, I've said this many times before, but between now and when we get back together, if there's any changes you want to make, feel free to it. Ashley, Jeff, you thinking?
What do you got, Ashley? You go ahead. You look ready.
Do I
Okay.
skip armor and get 2 hand axes?
What? Crazy dog?
Sure.
Skipping armor?
Or do
You
I
did say you
be
liked the art.
responsible and I get medium armor and then a hand axe?
Yeah, look at
Medium
that
armor.
art.
Well, you still get
You
2
can
weapons.
have armor and 2
Yeah, you get
weapons.
2 weapons,
It's the or
Oh.
is
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
either 2 weapons or 1 weapon and a shield.
Yep.
So that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
choice.
Okay.
And then
Okay,
armor
okay.
is separate.
Then I get the armor, and then
Yeah. Please get the armor.
they have to be medium, right, or light to dual wield.
Light or medium, just because we're starting. Those are
The
the only 2
weapons,
options.
yes, the weapons do have to be light or medium, but there is an advanced skill that allows you to use heavy weapons too. So
Yeah, that's the goal. That's
Gotcha.
the dream.
the dream.
Right now, I'll do 2 hand axes.
Okay,
I'm gonna dual wield.
I like it. And remember, so when you want to jump into that fighting stance, it's either 1 stamina point or 2 actions, but then you basically roll your damage dice twice. So, and there is, as I said, there's a skill that allows you can buy a skill that allows you to drop into your fighting stance without spending the stamina and taking the action. So there are opportunities after you get 6 skills to enhance that even further. In addition, you get 5 items, basically what you'd be carrying in your backpack. We're not going to go through these now. Just think about what you think you would be carrying with you on your adventure. The start of the adventure, Long, you're going to be on horseback. So the first adventure, so you've got a horse plus 5 items. One other person's going to have a horse, and we'll figure that out in a little bit. But
Jeff, did you figure out what your equipment's going to be?
I am torn. I'm taking a spear because I feel like it makes sense. It's just a question of whether I want to go hunting spear and then rearrange my stats to get 3 might so I can use a shield, or if I want to go a war spear, which is a 2-handed. Problem is, like, I still have to reach out and touch people. So the question I have is, like, when you're casting spells and you got to reach out and touch somebody, I have a 2-handed war spear. So are we going to play it where, like, on my turn, if I take an action to heal somebody, I can just like take one hand off my spear and touch them, or by the fact that I'm wielding a two-handed thing, that means I can't cast the spell.
No, I'm not that big of a dick. You can totally take your hand off, touch them, put your hand back on. There are free actions in the game, and I would consider changing your grip on your weapon to be a free action.
Okay. I might go War Spear because it's close as opposed to touch, which means I can stab over top of Ashley's head, or more likely through her legs because like I'm going to be crouched because I'm old. So yeah, one of the two, something like that. I'll play around with it even more because like if I went the one-handed hunting spear in a shield, I have 2 might, and shield you need 3, so I would need to bump it up 1. So I kind of play around with that a little bit to see which one I would prefer. But a spear makes the most sense for my guy, so that's what he's going to have.
I like it.
And no armor. Armor's for sissies. If you can't cast a spell on yourself and make your skin turn to iron bark wood, then honestly, why are you even in the front line? Like, let's just be honest.
Oh, God, I cannot wait to meet this guy.
He says from behind me.
Yeah.
But closer than 3 of
Down in
us.
front. I can't see.
I'm just going to do a Gilbert Gottfried voice.
I might need to switch to like a javelin or something because I don't want to be sitting here with just 1d4 weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, I'll Eagle Eye will give me a +1. So it'll be 1d4 +1, which is helpful, but everybody else is pulling out like 1d10, 1d8 stuff. So I'm gonna.
I mean, I'm not going to hit.
1d6
I'm going to fail every attack. I have no skill.
Yeah, I've got 1d6s. Plural.
I may keep the throwing star just for flavor, but I may switch the knife to a javelin just to at least get a d6.
And it's not just one javelin. Like if you buy like throwing stars, you have a handful of them.
Okay.
If you have a javelin, you've got basically a sling of javelins. So it's
I probably won't take the full 5 other items just to keep that in mind, that like a part of what I have is, kind of the extras,
and to be honest, it's not written in the rules like this. If you don't write all 5 items down and you want to leave some blanks, and then you say you reach into your backpack and you pull something out that's reasonable, there's one of your 5 items, I'm fine with that too. Like you've got a backpack, it's got 5 items in it. You don't have to decide up front what you have, as long as what you decide to pull out makes sense.
That's helpful. I like that.
All right. So we've pretty much gotten through all of character creation now. I do want to, we're going to do a little kind of a backstory thing. Each one of you is going to have a connection, 1 or 2 connections to each people. So I've got a series of questions. I'm going to ask the first question of one of you, and then you are going to answer it, and then you're going to decide. Well, you'll see how it goes. So first, Long, you have a comrade amongst the party. You both fought on the same side of some battle, whether it was a barroom brawl or a full-on military engagement. Your side lost. Who is your comrade, and what did losing cost you?
Remind me where you're from, Ashley, because I'm going to pick you here. What was your origin again?
Vanaheim or Asgard or somewhere up there. So
like the north, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we be paired together. We're kind of in the nomadic clans. Fought in a battle. It was Aquilonia or some of the major cities trying to gain land out about. And we're trying to defend those lands.
I like it.
That area.
So maybe your Hyrcanian archer was a mercenary who joined in with the Vanaheim or whomever Ashley was from to repel an incursion into their lands. What did you lose? What did it cost you to lose this fight?
lost maybe some honor within my own clan. So some of the Hyborian people or my clan, they just don't respect me as much anymore.
Okay. So maybe that's why you left the Hyrcanian mercenary company that you were in and started adventuring with someone else, because you lost some face with them, and they returned to the steppes and you stayed in the west.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
All right, Ashley, so you've got a connection to Long. The two of you at the beginning of the adventure in 2 weeks will be on horseback. Now, Ashley, you have an old enemy in the group. You both fought on opposite sides of a fight. Once again, could have been as small as a brawl in a tavern, or as big as a battle in a war. Which side won, and how did you reconcile with your old enemy so that you're working together now? So who's your old enemy? Which side won the battle, and how did the two of you reconcile?
So it wasn't a large battle per se. It was in fact a bar fight. Melissa and I really disagreed about the existence of magics, and Melissa did recognize that it existed, and she easily had it proven that it exists. Someone cast some sort of simple spell, and we reconciled by proceeding to get even more drunk together until we absolutely forgot that it happened.
I love
and
it.
Then we both woke up. We both had black eyes for some reason, and we couldn't remember what had happened.
That's fantastic. Okay, Melissa. You have traveled beyond your homeland with someone else in the group, perhaps on the same ship, perhaps as part of the same caravan. What dangers did you overcome, and how did that strengthen your relationship with this person?
So I'm thinking that maybe Jeff's character, because he's an older person that maybe doesn't have the best eyesight. So I'm almost thinking that maybe, like, I'm envisioning mine a little bit like younger. And I'm thinking maybe their relationship started off a little bit rocky because maybe like he was almost a mark for her character, but is more wily than she sort of expected. And then so it kind of started off in that like whippersnapper thinks I don't know what she's up to kind of a thing. So like it's almost the dangers overcome was sort of just their beginning of their relationship of like, was he gonna like turn her in or something along those lines? And then it kind of became a little symbiotic maybe along the way.
Could also be you realize I have literally nothing of value on me ever. And so stealing mud from my pocket is probably not that valuable to you.
Definitely.
If you got some soil that you're like, oh, this must be magical. And I'm like, no,
just dirt.
That was in there.
Just dirt.
Yeah.
Just maybe we found ourselves traveling somewhere, and that's sort of how this kind of started off.
Sure.
I love it. All right, Jeff. You're suspicious of another one of these characters. You've had your eyes on one another for a while, wondering what dubious activities you're involved with. What has this other character done to attract your distrust?
Oh, I think it makes perfect sense that it's Kipser. No offense, Kipser. It's not. Well, I shouldn't say it's Kipser. It's Kipser's character.
Oh, I see how it is.
Right.
Yeah, we're at the Freudian slip here.
Because
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I totally believe you now.
I am a user of natural magic.
Look
I
how
use
grumpy Max looks at you now.
Yeah. Well, you know that I'm gonna call Max when I get Call of the Beasts. I'm gonna call him and be like, I'm gonna have Max as my, and then Aaron can't attack him, or else it'll make you upset. So
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, so I think it has to do with our magic, because like I'm nature magic. I'm about beasts and wilds and such, and I don't really dabble in anything that's more like demonic or arcane in any particular way. So more than likely, maybe there was a moment where we came across each other, and I just found her like performing some kind of either like a ritual or scribing some kind of spell, or like maybe going to some kind of ancient ruin or whatever, like in a kind of a random place that we can sort out later. And like whatever you were doing was somehow polluting like the environment in a way, and what I was something like that.
As a druid and so much about life, you probably caught me because my death sight ability is like I'm touching a dead animal or person, but probably an animal in this case, and seeing how it died. And you're just like watching maggots rise and this flesh kind of decaying around where I'm touching or something like that. And that's like complete death.
Yeah, like you're interfering with the natural process in some way. Like I like that. Okay. Yeah. And I like that it's specifically like an animal of some kind.
Yeah, because it's just like you saw me randomly in the woods. I shouldn't be here. And this is like your home turf. And you saw me doing weird shit with animals.
Yeah, I'm picturing my guy as like on the border between the Pictish Wilderlands and like the Bosonian Marches. So he's just like he's long lived on that border and is the classic, not accepted by either side, but also not hated by either side. He can kind of navigate in between them in some ways. And so he's a little bit of both worlds, but not fully of either. And so somewhere along those lines, I think is probably where he's from, and maybe where we cross paths.
Yeah, nice. Totally makes sense, because my character, I imagine, is just like completely just wandering and traveling the world with claiming to be from somewhere else everywhere she goes. And it's all you would, if you followed me and were, because you didn't like how I did the animal thing, then you would just hear me lying about my location all the time too.
Right. Yeah. So like it just furthers his like suspicion.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's part of the reason, like if we ever do travel together, part of the reason I do travel with you is to make sure you're not like befouling things in a way or something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, Kipser, you share some fundamental belief, whether it's in a cult, a religion, a creed, with somebody else in the party. What tenet of your shared belief do you disagree on? So what is the shared belief? Who do you share it with? And what tenet of it do you disagree on?
I think I probably share a lot of tenets with Long's character, with him kind of traveling as well and seeing the world. And we fundamentally disagree on the existence of magic. He's determined not to see it. And I'm like, oh, look. And he's just like, can't see it. That doesn't exist. I don't know. You poisoned your hand and then touched them.
I love it. That's perfect. That is awesome. So we've got a little bit of connections between all of our players. So between now and when we play in 2 weeks, firm up where you're from, or if you're just a nomadic wanderer who lies about where they're from, that's fine too. If you've got questions about where you think your character might be from, feel free to reach out to me or Jeff for that matter. He knows as much about the world as I do. And we can kind of help point you in the right direction. But I think everybody's got a pretty good idea. Come up with a general description of your character, and then we'll get an opportunity to meet all of our characters the next time we play. But before we go, a little teaser for the beginning of our adventure. Ooh. So, scene opens up with a raven flying through high clouds. Its wings dip down and pierce the lower layers of the clouds in a pre-dawn morning, with a light drizzle falling from the sky and heavy fog upon the ground. It's staring down at a mountainous draw. If it was capable of knowing where it was, it would know that it's up at the border in the Bosonian Marches, near the border of Samaria and Vanaheim and the Pictish wilderness. As its wings dip and it flies a little lower, it sees a massive hunting lodge nestled up in the draw of this mountain range. Obviously, a play location of some noble family. And then from that draw, a fan-shaped valley spreads out and down into the river basin near the Black Rivers and the Thunder River. And a small village has grown up around this hunting lodge. Near the hunting lodge, the Raven sees nicer homes, probably from the lodge's permanent servants. And then from there, a small blacksmith shop, a small trading post, probably for those making their ways through the Bosonian Marches and perhaps into the Pictish wilderness. And then down, as you get onto the river plain, farms dot the area with sheep and goats. The sun is beginning to crest, and to the west there is a thick copse of forest. And further west, you can hear the sounds of the Thunder River. Lights begin to come on in the woods, almost like yellow, demonic, giant cat's eyes. But as they get closer, they flicker, and it becomes the obvious torchlight of a force moving through the woods. You hear an undulating cry in a tongue you may not speak, a northern tongue, and the only word you can make out is blood raven. As hard-bitten warriors wearing furs and patchwork armor, carrying shields and axes, burst from the trees, torches in their hands, making their way towards the farmland. And 5 mercenaries stand against the attack. They might be wondering if they got paid enough gold for this after all. Check in with us in 2 weeks, and we might find out how these mercenaries came to take this job and what it's going to cost them to try to see it through. I want to thank everybody for watching our session 0 tonight. I'm excited to be back to Hyborian Tales. I obviously have a passion for this world and this writing, and I hope to kill all of my characters at least once. We all know it's one of my greatest goals. But that's all I've got. Jeff?
Hey, I think we're all here for you to kill your characters, as long as you leave ours alone.
Well, I think I'll let you guys kill all my characters, and I'll see what I can do about returning the favor, because I'm kind like that.
Okay, well, let's do a couple closing plugs. We'll get on out of here. We'll start with you, Aaron, as is tradition. What do you got going on over at Garblag Games?
So Garblag, our chief Garblag, Pete, is on vacation in Copenhagen, lucky bastard right now. So this coming Thursday, we will be playing an Alien one-shot that Millie's going to run because, of course, Alien Earth is coming out next week, and so it's kind of a requirement to play some Alien. But after Pete returns, we'll be back to some more Daggerheart in his world. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome, fantastic. As for us, streaming schedule wise, we've got Saturday, Call of Cthulhu. Monday, we've been doing a little bit of a game I made called We're in Danger. We've been it's up on itch right now, and we've been kind of playing it around, showing it off a little bit on Monday. So come watch that. It's a lot of fun, little kind of silly, and it's just like a bunch of little one shots. Tuesday, Kipser, what are we playing on Tuesday?
We are playing Hardwired Island, where we are millennial cyberpunks with rollerblades and doing art projects in a space station.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, if that's what we're doing.
Whatever. Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
No one has paint skills, so I'm excited to see how you do in the first competition, but let's go.
Yeah, you can see Melissa, myself, and Long in that game, which is great. Long's not even there. It's also kind of there.
Jeff, I don't think you are playing. I think it is just Long.
That's true. I think I'm just producing, so that's great.
Yeah.
Scenes. Awesome. And then Thursday, we've got some Legend in the Mist. And then Friday, alternating Fridays with Conan, we've got Steven's Magnus Archives games. You should check that out. And you should also check out old Huckleberry, or where's Huckleberry? Where is it? It's on here somewhere. HuckleberryRPG.com. It's a game that Steven made, as it's not enough for us to play games. We got to make them now. But Huckleberry RPG is this awesome Weird West role-playing game that he's been working on. It's coming to BackerKit very soon. And you can get a copy of it now over on DriveThru. And then when BackerKit comes up, you can get a nice, fancy, shiny hardcover. So do that as well. But that's it for us. I'm crazy stoked for this. So we'll see y'all later. Come back next time. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.